This video is about why ADHD can make even the simplest daily tasks, like doing the dishes, replying to a message, or paying a bill, feel like climbing a mountain. Today you're going to learn the brain science behind why ADHD messes with the motivation for simple tasks, the emotional and psychological layers that make this worse, and a 3-step simple action plan so that you can start today even if you've been putting something off for weeks. If you've ever looked at something that takes 5 minutes and thought, I'll do it later, only to have it haunt you for days, this video is for you. So part number 1, the brain science of why simple feels hard. When you have ADHD, it's not about laziness, a lack of discipline, or not wanting it enough. It's about how your brain processes motivation, especially for tasks that feel mundane or routine. So this is all about the role of executive function. Executive function is like your brain's project manager. It helps to handle task initiation, that's getting started without external pressure, organization, figuring out the steps in the order, sustained attention, staying with it until it's done, and finally self-regulation, managing the distractions or the impulses that might impact that task. So in ADHD, this project manager is under-resourced. The prefrontal cortex, which controls these skills, has lower baseline dopamine and norepinephrine activity. That means tasks that don't trigger immediate interest, newness, or urgency will struggle to get through the start gate. So why does simple not always feel so simple? So neurotypical brains can access baseline dopamine to get moving on things like laundry or replying to an email. Whereas an ADHD brain doesn't get that dopamine release unless there's a looming deadline that's going to create urgency or something new and exciting or a deep personal interest. This is the hyperfocus trigger. So without one of these, your brain doesn't read the task as important enough to activate, even if you know logically it really does matter. So an example of this is like having a car that won't start unless the road ahead is either a racetrack or it's on fire. If it's just a normal street, the ignition won't turn on. As I'm sure you felt, there's a big cost of delaying starts. Small tasks start to build up, creating mental and physical clutter. You waste more mental energy thinking about the task than it would take you to do the task, and you get guilt and frustration, and they're going to chip away at your self-esteem over a period of time. So the key takeaway, it's not that you can't do simple tasks, it's that your brain's activation system is interest-based, not importance-based. So my question to you right now, what's the one should-be simple task you've been avoiding the longest? Drop it in the comments below. Part number 2, the emotional weight that makes it worse. The brain wiring is the starting point, but ADHD also comes with emotional patterns and self-perception issues that pile on the extra resistance. So firstly, shame and self-judgment. And when you can't seem to start something everyone else can do without thinking, you start to internalize it. You start to think, well, what's wrong with me? Am I just lazy? I'll never get myself together. This shame becomes a double burden. Not only do you still have the task, but now starting it means facing the feeling of being less than. So avoidance starts to feel protective even though it creates more problems. Number 2, time blindness and task distortion. ADHD makes it hard to accurately estimate time. Tasks are either instant or huge with no middle ground. That 10-minute laundry load feels like it will consume the whole day. That bill payment gets mentally inflated into an exhausting admin session. This distortion makes starting feel like committing to an epic, energy-draining battle, even if the reality is far, far smaller than that. And number 3, perfectionism dressed as procrastination. Many ADHDers don't want to start until they can do it perfectly. This means waiting until you have the right block of time, waiting until you're in the right mood, or avoiding entirely because the imagined standard feels too high. So what looks like procrastination is often fear of starting and not meeting your own high standards. And number 4, decision fatigue before you've even begun. For non-urgent routine tasks, ADHD brains get stuck on micro decisions. Should I do it now or after lunch? Should I reply by email or call? Where do I even start? These tiny choices burn through limited mental energy, leaving even less available to just begin. So it's not just the task, it's the mental story, the emotional load, and decision drain that's attached to it. So when all of that sits on top of a low dopamine brain, even small things can feel like mountains. And I hear you, but I've pushed through before, why can't I just do that again? Because pushing through often relied on urgency or newness. Without those triggers, your brain's ignition system just doesn't want to kick in automatically. So my question to you, when you get stuck, is it because you think the task will take too long, or because you're waiting for the right moment to start? Comment below. And part number 3, the process of making it impossible not to start plan. We're going to crush the 2 biggest ADHD blockers. Firstly, the lack of dopamine to get started, and secondly, the emotional mental weight making the task feel huge. So here's the 3-step system, and if you follow it for 7 days, you'll prove to yourself you can start and finish even the smallest tasks. So step number 1, break it down until it's too small to fail. I know you've heard this advice before, but it's important. The key ADHD barrier is your brain sees the whole task and it starts to freeze. The solution for this, make the first step so tiny it feels almost silly. So instead of do the laundry, put 1 shirt in the machine. Instead of clean the kitchen, put 1 cup in the sink. Instead of write the report, it can just be as simple as open the laptop. This works well, although it sounds silly, because ADHD brains get overwhelmed by all or nothing thinking. When you shrink the start point, you bypass the brain's threat radar. Once you start, your brain's dopamine reward system kicks in and momentum will start to take over. And of course I hear you, but that won't get the whole thing done. That's true, of course, but the act of starting is the hardest part for ADHD, and starting will likely lead to continuing more often than not. Step number 2, pair it with a dopamine spark. So the ADHD brain has a barrier of mundane tasks don't give enough stimulation to activate your brain. The solution can be add an immediate pleasure hit while you do it. So play a high energy playlist, set a 2-minute timer and make it a race, pair it with something you enjoy, a coffee, a podcast. This is going to work really well because you're front loading dopamine instead of waiting for the task to provide it. The stimulation is going to prime your brain to start to engage in that task. And again, I hear you, but I don't feel like doing anything today. That's exactly why this works. The point is to hack the start, not your entire mood. And step number 3, make it unmissable in your environment. The biggest ADHD barrier in this situation is if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And the solution can be as simple as put a physical, visible cue where you can't ignore it. The bill on your keyboard, your trainers by the door, a sticky note on your phone screen. This works really well because it takes the task out of memory storage and puts it in your physical world, reducing the mental load of remembering. And of course I hear you, but I'll just walk past it anyway. If that happens, move the cue into a new unavoidable location each time. Your environment needs to demand action. Sometimes put the thing on top of something that you have to move in the day. So here is your 7-day ADHD activation challenge. Firstly, pick 1 task each morning you've been avoiding. Secondly, break it down until it feels too small to fail. Number 3, pair it with a dopamine spark. And number 4, put a visible cue in your physical space. At the end of the week, review the following. Which tasks you started sooner, which dopamine pairings worked best for you, and how your stress level started to change. I know, of course, this will feel so simple, maybe too simple, but in ADHD management, simple is powerful when it's repeated consistently. So hopefully by the end of this, now you know why your ADHD brain makes simple tasks feel so heavy, how shame, time blindness, and perfectionism layer onto the problem, and the exact 3-step system to start anything even when you feel stuck. So comment below, what's the first tiny task you're going to try this with today? And of course, if this video helped, please do subscribe to the Awaken channel. Here we turn ADHD from a mystery into something you can actually work with. No fluff, just clear psychology-backed strategies. As always, thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack, and I'll see you in the next one.